Ah, boy. I gotta keep it a buck, man. I am tired. Work be just draining you, man. Work be draining you. And I gotta go back tomorrow. Like, who wants to go to work tomorrow? Today's Wednesday, so at least, you know, it is what it is. I gotta go to work, though. I need money. I need that check. I need that bag. I got things to pay for. I ain't trying to go back to being broke. Them days are over. Wait. I gotta do this. And we gotta be here tomorrow for this. Oh, man. That means I'm gonna have to drive all the way home. Oh, no. Man, I gotta get sleep tonight. I gotta get a lot of sleep tonight. Because we gonna have to stream the game. Oh, no. Okay. Hopefully, we're not here long. I'm gonna keep it the bean. I ain't trying to be here. I ain't trying to be here. Ooh, I like this title more. I like this title more. Yeah, I'm gonna steal this one. This one's better. There we go. I'm gonna just finesse that out of nowhere. You actually cooked something decent. I'll give you that. Okay, let's get ready to do this. Not even sure where I want to start. Oh wait, I think I have an idea of where I want to start. I got to go to the good old Twitter, because I think it's a good thing to start off with. All right. Get that right here. Ah, crap baskets. All right. I'll have a lot of the prep work you gotta do. A lot of the prep work you gotta do before the start. All right, let me take a look at this. And then let me take a look at this. Let me take a look at that. Good Lord. Oh my God. Okay. Let's get into this. Let's get into this. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. It is that time to talk about the Ravens and Bengals game. I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to keep this half an hour. This is going to be more of a video as opposed to a live stream, but you know how it be. You never know who's going to pull up to the live stream. And every time I stream, I be saying I want to be here for 30 minutes. Y'all get me invested for another hour. All of a sudden, 30 minutes turns to 90, and I'm like, damn, I was only supposed to be here for 30. But that's the life of streaming, man. You end up streaming a lot longer than you wanted to. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about streaming. I'm here to talk about this matchup. So, AFC North matchup here. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. Thursday Night Football prime time. The Ravens will unveil their new helmets, those purple helmets. And it should be good. They're going all purple for this game, so it's going to be spectacular. I cannot wait to see it because, man, those colors. They're going to have the Color Rush jerseys with these new helmets. It's about to be clean. We got to win this game, man. You can't bring out the Color Rush jerseys with the new helmets and you don't win. So Ravens got to get a W with these outfits on. We know whenever they pull up with the all black, they handle business. If they could only wear the all black in the playoffs, I would actually feel a lot more comfortable about this team winning. Because for some reason, when they wear that all black, when they bring out the all black, oh my God, they just handle business. They're a different football team. They are a different football team. If they wear the all black, for some reason they decide to actually play like a top tier team, both offensively and defensively. They are lights out with those uniforms on. You know, I like the classic. I like the classic black and white. I like the classic purple and white. I do like the purple and black too. I do. In fact, I think in the playoffs, you know, you wear the purple and black. I'm cool with that. But I'm not gonna lie. Something about the all-black unis just brings out a monster in this team. Every time they wear them, they really be smoking people. They wear them on prime time, and they either be smoking people or they be handling them. They wore it against the Bills, and that still might be the best game we've seen them put up all season from a total team standpoint. I think that game was probably seen better than what we saw with Denver, just because you did that against Josh Allen and the Bills. When they bring up them all-black unis, they don't play around. I remember them using it a few years back, and they just handle business. I think they pulled up the all-black unis against the Cowboys again on a primetime game, like a Thursday night football game, and they just smoked the Cowboys. Like, they just pull up these unis, and it's different. Anyway, Thursday night football, they're bringing out the Color Rush jerseys. They're going to unveil the new helmets, so they're going to be wearing them, and they're taking on the divisional foe. Now, of course, if everybody remembers, we had already taken on the Bengals early on back in week 4. Not week 4, excuse me. Back in week 5 of the NFL season. We went down to Cincinnati. We were 1-2 at the time. Sorry, we were 2-2 at the time. Cincinnati was 1-3. We needed to win to get us back to over 500, and Cincinnati needed to win to get themselves closer. We knew the result of that game was going to determine how each team's season was going to go. The winner of that would probably get back on track. The loser would have a tough battle to go ahead. Ravens got the win. They got back on track. That's why they sit right now at 6-3 with an opportunity to go to 7-3. Cincinnati suffered that loss. It set them back, and they're fighting for their season. Cincinnati's got 5 losses on the season. They cannot afford to continue to lose games. There's way too much games left to play for them to have 5 losses at this point, and getting a 6th one could hurt them. I've said that the Bengals can make the playoffs at 10-7. I also said there's a possibility they can make it at 9-8, but I do not believe they're going to make it at 9-8 just because they have suffered a lot of losses in the AFC. They've lost to AFC teams. So it's going to be tough to get a conference tiebreaker with some of these other teams they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot with if they keep losing to AFC teams. They'd already lost the Ravens. They'd already lost the Chiefs. They already lost the Patriots. They still got to take on the Steelers. They have not faced off against Steelers once. This is a very tough situation. Cincinnati's basically in playoff mode. They have to win every game. If they can win every game, they end the season 12-5. If the margin of error is 2 losses maximum, they could potentially make the playoffs at 10-7. So this has to be one of those games. If they lose tomorrow night and drop to 4-6, you have to start having a little bit of concerns about whether or not Cincinnati can make the playoffs. And I'll say this, if the Cincinnati Bengals miss the playoffs with a healthy Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor's getting fired. There's no way you keep him after that. But yeah, you've got this game, Thursday Night Football, huge implications, AFC North battle. You've got 2 of the Big 4 going up against each other, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow on primetime. It should be a fun one. We all know when 2 of the Big 4 go up against each other, it's usually a good game that comes down to the wire. Whether it's Lamar and Mahomes and Allen and Burrow, Lamar and Burrow, Lamar and Allen, whatever it's supposed to be, it's usually supposed to be a good game when 2 of the Big 4 go up against each other. And I expect that to happen tonight. Now, quick updates here, just to speak about it. Cincinnati, on their injury report, Orlando Brown Jr. and B.J. Hill, they are both questionable. They may play in this game, we'll have to see, but they're both questionable for this game. Meanwhile, T. Higgins and Charlie Jones, they are doubtful, so they're most likely not going to play against the Ravens tomorrow. So that's going to be huge. If you've actually taken a look at how the Ravens have fared defensively against the Bengals when T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are there versus just Jamar Chase, it's a difference. You've got 2 of the best weapons in football together. It's tough for defenses to stop both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase consistently. And the Ravens, they've had some issues, man. They've had some issues dealing with both those guys. If they've slowed down Jamar Chase, T. Higgins will go off. If they slow down T. Higgins, Jamar Chase goes off. If one of those guys are missing, it allows the Ravens to zone in more on the other. So T. Higgins not being here is a huge blow to the team offensively. But they'll still be able to do things here because, again, you lean on Jamar Chase, you lean on your tight ends, and you've got one of the best quarterbacks in football. So you know he's going to find a way to get the ball to other guys and just make plays. So losing him and not having him for this game is going to hurt the Bengals offense. But again, you've got Joe Burrow. They should be fine, but we just have to see how it goes. Meanwhile, for the Ravens, man, they had a lot of people on their injury list. Idrissa Isaac, he was on the list. He's good to go. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 players that are good to go. They have no game status. They're good to go. They're going to play in the game. Or they're at least active for the game. Idrissa, he's active for the game. He was sick. He's fine. He's active if they want to play him. Lamar Jackson, he had that rest day on Monday, didn't practice on Tuesday, and then fully participated in practice today. Obviously, he was going to play today. They're just giving Lamar rest days because they're trying to pace him for the most part. And John Harbaugh already came out and said they're going to be giving Lamar rest days periodically just to maintain his health for the most part and just give him that extra time off because of how much we know how much he has to deal with. So they do give him those breaks, which I'm perfectly fine with. I don't think Lamar really needs to be in practice a lot in order for him to still be successful on Sundays because, again, he's doing everything. He's still in the meetings. He's still participating with everything else, and he's still watching film. He had 1 day of practice and then put up a perfect passer rating against the Broncos, who had one of the best defenses in football. They were actually the number 3 ranked defense, which I did not realize. Maybe you look at the level of competition and say that contributes to it. But again, the NFL is the NFL. If you're the number 3 ranked defense, you get credit for being the number 3 ranked defense. So Lamar had 1 day of practice and then did that to that defense. So again, he's at the point where he doesn't need to be at practice every single day. And he'll still go out there and perform because, he's one of the best in the game. So if they want to give him rest days just to continue to maintain his health, I'm perfectly fine with it. As opposed to just keep putting him out there in practice. But he could use a little bit of a break. He's a little banged up. He's a little sore. No, just give him the rest days. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson was one on the list. He's good to go. Travis Jones, this is huge. Travis Jones, he was dealing with an ankle injury. He was limited on Monday, Tuesday. He didn't play last week. He was limited on Monday and Tuesday. Fully participated in practice today. He's now pretty much off the injury report. He will be active for this game. Another individual, Patrick McCarry. He was dealing with a shoulder injury, full participation all week. He's good to go. He will participate in this game. Tyler Wallace was dealing with a bit of a foot issue. He was limited on Monday, participated in practice fully Tuesday and today. He's good to go for the game. And another key one, Broderick Washington, who was dealing with a knee injury, practiced full all week. He's available. So getting back Travis Jones and getting back Broderick Washington is key for your defensive line. We're watching right now. That front 7 could use all the help it can get. Once these guys started getting hurt, that became an issue. So these guys coming back is great. So that's the good news. The bad news is we do have some guys that are not going to play for the most part. The 2 players that are out, Isaiah Likely, tight end Isaiah Likely, he suffered a hamstring injury towards the end of the game against the Broncos, or at least towards the end of the time when he was out there with the Broncos. So he's out. He did not participate in practice all week. He's out with a hamstring injury. He's not playing in the game tomorrow against the Bengals. And another one, which we already knew about, Brent Urban, who's in concussion protocol, has been dealing with a concussion. We know about that. He had suffered that. Didn't practice all week. He's out for this game. I expect him to most likely be back for next week's game in 10 days when we take on, I believe, the Steelers. I'll check the schedule. But he'll be back most likely for the next game. But he's not going to be playing tomorrow against the Bengals. So Isaiah Likely's out. Brent Urban is out. Another person that's also out, or potentially out, is Jalen Armour-Davis. He was limited in practice all week. He is doubtful for the game, but maybe that changes to questionable, or maybe they decide to elevate him at the end. I don't know. But there's a good chance Armour-Davis is not playing. So that's just how it's going to be. Other than that, that's pretty much it. You got pretty much everybody back. You're going to have 2 guys, maybe 3 out. And then the other 2 that are questionable, which we have to talk about, is running back Rasheen Ali, who again I don't even know if he's been on the field. He's kind of been dealing with injuries all season. I don't think he's really played, so it is what it is with him. But the biggest aspect that needs to be talked about, and we'll see come tomorrow. We will check the list. Running back Keaton Mitchell is questionable for this game. Keaton Mitchell had suffered that torn ACL last season. He went through the whole process, rehab. He got 100%. They took him off the list. That 21. They took him off the list and have been practicing him the last few weeks. He participated. He was first. He was limited that first week, and then last week he was a full participant in practice. But they chose not to play him in the Broncos game. He's a full participant in practice this week, and now he's questionable. So there's a chance Keaton Mitchell makes his season debut tomorrow night against the Bengals. So that is key. Lamar being fine, getting back Travis Jones, getting back Broderick Washington, that is important. Getting back Patrick McCarry, of course. Patrick McCarry, that's also important. But getting Lamar and everyone else playing, that's great. But potentially getting back Keaton Mitchell and having him have his season debut tomorrow night is also important because we know what that guy can bring to the table. Getting back Keaton Mitchell to this run game will allow them to take everything to a whole new level. Because once you get Keaton Mitchell back, now you'll start to see the Ravens change up how they're going to utilize Henry. Because they want to preserve Henry. They know they need to rely on Derrick Henry. Come playoff time, come January, Derrick Henry is the guy they're going to be giving the football a lot to. That's their plan. So they want to preserve him as much as they can, which is why you need that number 2 back. And, I mean, we've all seen it. Justice Hill is great, but he's great more so as a receiving back. When you utilize him in the backfield in the passing game, that's where he shines. He's the guy that's going to be catching screens. He's the guy that's going to occasionally run the wheel routes. He's going to be the one catching the football and making a play with it. They run a lot of screens with Justice Hill. They like using him in the backfield. They also like using him as an extra blocker. He's done a great job in doing so. So my thing is, that's where he should be. Despite the fact that we know he can run the ball, I don't need to see him as a runner. I want him to be out the backfield as an extra blocker or somebody we can use in screens. That is his perfect role. I think the Ravens need to start realizing, now that you're getting Keaton Mitchell back, you got to start realizing with this running back unit, everyone plays a role. Your number one guy, your bell cow, Derrick Henry. The guy you use in the backfield, in the passing game, and as an extra blocker, Justice Hill. He's been great all season with that. You make sure your number one guy is Derrick Henry. That number 2 spot now belongs to Keaton Mitchell. We don't need Keaton Mitchell really blocking. We don't need Keaton Mitchell catching screens. Though, again, if he's out there and the opportunity's there, he catches a screen. The same thing with Derrick Henry. We don't use Derrick Henry in a lot of screens. But when he's out there and the opportunity does come up, Lamar would occasionally throw Derrick Henry a screen, and Derrick Henry will take it and pick up a good chunk of yardage. But when it comes to screens, they specifically like using Keaton Mitchell. When it comes to screens or running others like wheel routes, they like to utilize Justice Hill. I'm sorry if I said Keaton Mitchell for that one. But yeah, in terms of screens, they like using Justice Hill. In terms of running that wheel route, they like using Justice Hill. They have mastered that, and it's worked out for them all season. It worked out for them last season, too. It's worked out for them this season. They have mastered that. Lamar and Hill, they have that connection. I think that's exactly where you need to be. Continue to utilize him in the backfield, utilize him in screens, and let him be an extra blocker. Keaton, you come in as that running back, too. And now, as that RB2, the second and third quarter, that's all you. The second and third quarter should be all Keaton Mitchell. My opinion in terms of how the Ravens should do it is the first quarter, they see what the defense is going to give them. You look to put out Derrick Henry to start off the game. See what the defense is going to give you. If they're not going to load the box, you can run the ball with Derrick Henry. You get him going. You keep feeding him. If they choose to load the box, you're going to still try to run the ball to just commit to it. But at the same time, you know you can initiate that play-action passing game and you lean more towards the passing game to start opening things up. You give the majority of carries early on in the game. Then in the middle of the game, you start utilizing Keaton Mitchell, start seeing what he's got, see if he's still got that speed, letting him get back to his old self. And then towards the fourth quarter, you know that's when the Kings got a feast. So you start going back to Derrick Henry. When Henry's not in the field, it should be Keaton Mitchell if you're going to run the ball. If you're not running the ball and you're about to run a pass play, bring out Justice Hill. You can alternate between these three backs because they do specific things that you need. You've got your Thunder with Derrick Henry. You're getting your Lightning back with Keaton Mitchell. You've got this extra guy in the passing game and in the blocking aspect in Justice Hill. Everybody plays a role in this offense. Utilize your weapons as you see fit. So I'm interested in seeing if Keaton Mitchell is going to play. We'll see. It should be fine. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the injury report. But yeah, Isaiah Likely not being there, that is a blow. That is definitely a blow because, he's a big part of the offense as well. But that just means other guys are going to step up. Mark Andrews is probably going to have his opportunities here and there, but they're going to like to put a body or two on him sometimes. So that means there's a good chance that Charlie Kolar gets to eat. The opportunities are going to be there. But I think it's probably going to be a game where we mostly see, in the passing game, we're going to mostly see our receivers eat. So I believe it's going to be another Zay Flowers type of game where he's going to have another great performance, over 100 yards. Zay Flowers has actually been killing it. He's fourth. I believe he's fourth right now in receiving yards. And in 4 of the last 5 games, he's had over 110 plus yards receiving. So, this dude's emerging. He's having his emergence. He's looking to be one of the best receivers in football. He's playing like that right now. He's playing at elite level. He's playing at a high level. He looks better this year than he has last year. And we're starting to see that he's really becoming that true wide receiver one. So it's great to see Zay Flowers emerge in year 2, take that next step, and we hope he continues to do it. I think it's going to be another big game for Zay Flowers. I expect to see Bateman get involved here and there. The interesting question I would have to ask is, what way are the Ravens going to lean? Because you have Isaiah Likely now not playing, do they lean on utilizing both their tight ends, or do they try to use 3 wide receivers and they try to get Deontay Johnson going? Because at some point you do have to integrate Deontay Johnson into this offense and see what he can do on the field. Because you got 3 guys on the field, those 3 receivers that all are good at creating separation. Yeah, the Ravens are going to want to see how that goes. So is this the game? Is this the night where they sit back and say, okay, we didn't play him in the Denver game that much. He was available. You saw him on the field for maybe a couple plays, but nothing really there meant for the most part. Is this the game they're going to try to see if they can get Deontay Johnson a bit more involved and see how that works? Because if you don't have Isaiah Likely, you got 2 tight ends, obviously, but it gives you an opportunity to potentially utilize 3 receivers. And your 3 best receivers are Flowers, Bateman, and Deontay Johnson. So is this the game they're going to try to get Deontay Johnson going, see what he can do, and see if we can get him some reps and get him some potential catches? It's interesting to see because they're going to have to integrate him. They're going to have to integrate him at some point. Is this going to be the night, or are they going to wait till next week? I'm interested in seeing it. I personally thought they'd probably wait a little bit longer, but because Isaiah Likely's not here, Todd Monken may want to give it a shot. Now, it's up to him. I don't think you necessarily have to integrate him this week. You'll still have plenty of time. But if they want to give it a shot against Cincinnati and see what he can do, I wouldn't mind it. But we'll see how they do with that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the aspect of how things are going to go, who's playing versus who's not playing, and how everything's going to look out. Now let's actually get into the elements of how this game is going to go down. Or at least, let's get to the elements of keys to the game, advantages, matchups, how this is going to go. So let's take a look at the offense because they're the easiest aspect of this. Well, the last time they played up against the Cincinnati Bengals, the offense was explosive and great. The offense has been one of the best in the league. In fact, I believe they're second in scoring and first in yards. You're number 1 in rushing. You're number 3 in passing. So obviously they're number 1 in total yards. They've just been that dominant as an offense. They average over 30 points a game. They have their offense is arguably the most explosive. But it comes down to them with the Lions. The Ravens have an explosive offense, and they just are able to generate points. When they took on the Cincinnati Bengals, they did not struggle to score for the most part. That first half was really low scoring for both teams. But then that second half came, and then everything kind of changed, and then all of a sudden, boom. An explosion of points, just an aerial attack, and it just got crazy. Lamar in that game, 4 touchdowns for him. That crazy play to Isaiah Likely for the touchdown. Definitely a candidate for play of the year, though Saquon's his play is going to win. I don't see how you don't give that play to him. Like, Lamar did something crazy, something we rarely see. But we've seen Lamar make plays like that before. Maybe not just bobbled and stiff arm, but we've seen him make similar plays like that. And we've seen Allen make somewhat similar plays before. So I think Lamar's play is going to be candidate of the year. But I've never in my life seen somebody like backwards hurdle somebody the way Saquon did. Like, that's the first time in my life I've ever seen a player do that. That has to win play of the year. But yeah, last time we played the Bengals, Lamar did that, and he was on fire. We put up 41 points in offense. We went into overtime, 38-38, and then we had the ball first. The fumble happened. Cincinnati had a chance to win. They missed the kick. Next thing you know, we get the ball back. We toss it to the King, and that's all she wrote. So, yeah, that's pretty much how that went for the most part. And we generated 41 points of offense. So I think in this game, it's going to be something similar. I don't know if we're going to generate 41 points, but I'm thinking somewhere between 27 and 31 points in this game. I think offensively, we should still be able to move the ball against the Bengals. The Bengals don't have a great defense. We were able to move the ball last time. We will be able to move the ball this time, or at least I assume we should be able to move the ball against them this time. We were able to generate points and get in the end zone last time. I believe we'll be able to generate points and get into the end zone this time. So I don't have a real issue with the Ravens offense in terms of being able to create points. So I guess keys to the game is to continue to do what you guys are doing. I don't really have to complain about this team and the turnovers because they've only committed 6 turnovers this year. I think they committed 6, 7 turnovers? They have not committed a lot of turnovers. The Ravens have not committed a lot of turnovers offensively. So me sitting here and saying one of the keys to the game is to protect the football. They've been doing that for much of the season. We've seen turnovers here and there with some fumbles, but Lamar has 2 picks on the season, and both of those were because Andrews couldn't make the catch and Bateman couldn't make the catch. It bounced off their hands. But we've done a fantastic job all season of protecting the football. We don't really turn the ball over. So I'll say one of the keys to the game is to protect the football. Continue to do what you were doing already. Protect the football. That's number 1. Number 2, protect Lamar Jackson. That comes down to the offensive line. Trey Hendrickson has been killing it. I believe he's now leading the league in sacks at 11 and a half. I mean, dude is a monster, and he got to I'm pretty sure he got to Lamar once in the game when we faced off against him, and he's the one that made the play to cause a safety. He's the one that tackled Derrick Henry in the end zone. Obviously, that's the same guy that. No, that was Hubbard. I believe Hubbard's actually the one that did it. Hubbard's the one that made the stop in the end zone, but Hendrickson did get to Lamar, so that's a different conversation. But Hendrickson, we know he's a dangerous guy, man. He's having a great season. He's gonna look to get to Lamar. So our offensive line's got to do a great job in protecting him. So that's one of the keys to the game. Another key to the game, with the way the Ravens offense has been this season, I'm gonna say pick your poison. Initially, my aspect would be like, oh, we got to establish the run and we got to get the pass game going. Pick your poison. Moving forward, one of my keys to the game offensively, the one statement that will always be there is pick your poison. Pick your poison. Every week, pick your poison. What do I mean with that? Look at what the defense is willing to give you. If the defense is not stacking the box, you should use that opportunity to immediately establish the run. Because if you let Derrick Henry get going early on, it's going to be a quick game. Because Derrick Henry gets better as the game goes on. So if you already allow him to get going early on in the game, you're not going to stop him as the game winds down. And that's how you end up with a situation like the Buffalo Bills, where he had 199 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So if we see a situation like the Bills where they don't stack the box and Derrick Henry gets going, that's a quick game. So if they don't stack the box, you establish the run immediately. If they do establish the run, if they do stack the box and they're looking to stop the run early on, then now you go to the pass game and you utilize the passing game through the play action game. We have been damn near perfect when we've ran the play action game this season. Lamar's killing teams with the play action. He's probably the best quarterback in play action this year. So if they're going to stop the run, initiate the pass. Initiate the air raid. You've got the guys. Get Bateman involved early. Get Flowers involved early. Get these guys involved early. Get the ball to your playmakers early on. So that's one of my keys to the game. Pick your poison. If they're going to invest in stopping the run, get the pass game going. If they're going to not load the box up, hand the ball to the king and let him feast early on. Either way, pick your poison. And that's pretty much it. Because again, if you do these things, you'll be able to put up points on the board. So protect the football, protect your quarterback, and pick your poison. Those are my keys to the game. Offensively, we don't have an issue. We don't have a problem. This offense is more than capable enough of putting up 30 points against any team in the National Football League. They can do it. As long as they don't get in their own way or try to get too cute with the play calling, which Todd Monken likes to do sometimes, they will be able to score 30-plus points against any team, no problem. I don't care what defense you throw at them. They should be able to score 30-plus points against any team in the National Football League. So I'm not concerned about the offense in the game. They will be able to put up points against Cincinnati. As long as they don't get cute with the play calling, they should be able to put up 30-plus points against Cincinnati. Defensively is where we have to look at this and speak in a more complicated aspect. Because while Cincinnati's defense has been poor this year, we've been just as poor, if not worse. This is where you have to look and say, hey, the defense has to start making a statement. The defense has to start making a statement. We are approaching week 10. There's 9 games left for us to play. Actually, no, sorry. There's 8 games left for us to play. As we approach week 10, there's 8 games left for us to play. After we play the Bengals, there will be 7. So, including the Bengals game, we've got the Bengals, then the Steelers, then the Chargers, then the Eagles. Then you got the Giants, Steelers, Texans, Browns. I'm going to tell you this right now. These next 4 games, at home against Cincinnati, on the road against Pittsburgh, on the road against the Chargers, at home against the Eagles. These next 4 games is going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest implication of this defense. The defense spent the entire first half of this season looking mediocre. They're a bottom 10 defense. The only thing that carries their defense is the fact that they can stop the run. But this defense has not done anything well all season. They can't cover. They can't tackle well. They can't get off the field on third down. They haven't been able to catch picks because people keep dropping the ball. They don't do a great job in getting to the quarterback when they need to. They're somehow 5th in sacks. Yet when they need to generate pressure consistently, they're one of the worst teams in doing that. They have one of the worst pass rush win. They have one of the worst. I don't think they have the worst. I was thinking maybe they're second or third. But they have one of the worst pass rush win rates in the National Football League. One of the worst. They're at 23%, 23 or 24%. They're one of the worst in terms of generating pressure on a quarterback. Yet they're somehow 5th in sacks. It's weird. Well, when you're dominating a lot of teams, you're going to get sacks late in the game because, teams are now just pressing, just trying to put points up in garbage time. It happens. But, yeah. You don't do a good job getting to the quarterback. You guys are constantly dropping picks, so you can't catch the ball well. You don't really do a good job tackling, and you guys have been very poor in coverage. You've been one of the worst teams in coverage. So, with that being said, you have 8 games to figure this out. You have 8 games to redeem yourself. You've lost any reputation you had of a great Ravens defense. This unit doesn't get that benefit of the doubt. You have 8 games to reestablish yourself. 8 games to reestablish yourself. At the end of the day, you are not going to be able to be seen as a defense you were last year. Not even close. This team will not be viewed as a top 5 defense by the end of the year. But if you can somehow get yourself within the 10 to 15 range by the end of the season, which is possible, that becomes a different conversation. Because with the way the offense is looking and how explosive they've looked and how explosive they've been, if they have that same offense in the playoffs, I don't care if the defense is giving up 20 points. You should still be able to win that. You should be able to win that. It just comes down to that. You should be able to win that. So if this defense can spend the rest of the year playing top-tier football and drop down to becoming a top 10 to 15 defense by the end of the season, you put yourself in a position to where now we can look at this team and say they got a good chance to try to go do something in January. So this defense has to regain the respect of the public, the media, and the fans, because the media has been killing them every single day. Anytime they talk about the Ravens, they talk about this defense being trash. Nick Wright, every time he has a chance to talk about the Ravens, he talks about how this defense stinks. And Chris Broussard, all he can do right now, he's trying to defend the defense. All he can do is talk about the culture. That's all we can do. Talk about the culture. That's just how it's going to be. So this defense, they got to go out there and they got to prove themselves. You got 8 weeks to do it. The next 4 games are going to be a big indication of what this defense will be moving forward. Tomorrow night against the Bengals, next week against the Steelers, the week after that against the Chargers, and then the week after that, December 1st against the Eagles. Those 4 teams can put up some points. When the Chargers actually let Justin Herbert be Justin Herbert, they are a high-octane offense. So again, these 4 games are going to showcase it. Also, if you hadn't noticed, the Steelers have put up 26-plus points in the last 3 games. 3-plus games of scoring 26-plus points. They're starting to get in the groove offensively. And with that defense, that's very dangerous. So again, tomorrow night against Cincinnati, next week against the Steelers, the week after that against the Chargers, and the week after that against the Philadelphia Eagles. These 4 games are the defense's biggest opportunity to turn around the narrative that's been placed on them. It comes down to that. So it starts tomorrow night. You get it done. If you gave up 38 points to Joe Burrow and that Cincy offense. You want to go make a statement? Hold them to under 20. You'll get everybody's attention. Yes, they're missing T. Higgins. But T. Higgins isn't going to be the major difference between them scoring 38 points and them potentially scoring like 16. There's no way you're saying he makes a 22-point difference. No way you can make that argument. No way you can make that argument. Now, you'll say he makes a difference, but not a 22-point difference. If this defense goes out there and holds them to under 20, now you can sit back and say, that's them actually playing well and doing well and trying to make a statement that this defense is trying to get back together. So that's what they got to do. And the way they can do that is through a few simple things. Number 1, you've got to be able to generate turnovers. And actually, I'm not even going to say that. You have to be able to catch the ball. Because again, if you've watched this defense all season, they have not had an issue in generating opportunities for turnovers. They've just dropped the ball. This defense leads the leagues in dropped interceptions, which means they have created ample opportunities to pick off the ball. They're just not catching the football. If they catch the ball, it's a different conversation with this defense. If they would have caught all those picks that they dropped, we might be having a different conversation about the Ravens defense. If they would have caught those picks, they're probably sitting here at what? What would it be at this point? They'd probably be 8-1. If they would have caught all those picks, they're 8-1. They're 8-1. Because they probably don't lose to the Raiders. And they certainly aren't going to lose to Jameis because he gave the defense 5 picks and they dropped all of them. If they catch these picks that they've dropped, they're probably 8-1. So the number one thing they got to do is catch the ball. Because they've done a great job this year in creating opportunities. But they have not maximized those opportunities because they have not caught these picks. Almost interceptions mean nothing. If you can't catch the pick, it doesn't mean anything. The drive still continues. So the number one thing they got to do is catch the ball. When the opportunity comes, you have to be able to take it. The opportunity came against Joe Burrow. Marlon Humphrey picked him off, and that was the game changer. That was the decisive moment that changed the entire game. So again, if the opportunities come up to pick off Joe Burrow, who again has been very accurate with the ball and has not really put the ball in harm's way much this season, if the opportunity comes up, you've got to be able to go and get that football. So number 1, key to the game, catch the ball. When the opportunity is there, catch the ball. Complete the play and get the turnover. That's number 1. Number 2, you have to find a way to get to Joe Burrow. If you let Joe Burrow sit back there, if you let him sit back there and have all the time in the world, he's going to carve your defense. So you're going to have to find a way to get to Joe Burrow. But I'm going to be honest, you can't blitz him. Just like you can't blitz Lamar, you cannot blitz Joe Burrow. Lamar and Burrow are the two, if not, I don't know if they're the 2 best. I believe they are. I think Lamar's number 1 and Burrow's number 2, or maybe Burrow's number 1 and Lamar's number 2. They're the 2 best quarterbacks when it comes to dealing with pressure. I think when it comes to being the 2 best quarterbacks when it comes to being pressure, I think Burrow's 1, and then Lamar's number 2. But when it comes to the blitz, Lamar's number 1. I think Burrow's 2 or 3. So you don't want to blitz Burrow, and you don't want to send a lot of pressure. This is where it's going to come down to these guys making plays. You're going to have to be able to generate pressure without blitzing him. Because if you do that, Burrow's just going to get rid of the ball. Joe Burrow is that good, you can't blitz him. Joe Burrow is that good, you can't blitz him. So it's going to come down to you generating pressure without blitzing, because you're going to need everybody in the secondary to be able to come back and just hold him off, to force him to hold on to that ball, to give you a chance to get to him. So, yeah. It comes down to that, man. It comes down to that. It comes down to that. Got to be able to generate pressure and get to and get to Burrow without blitzing. So that's the second key to the game. Third key to the game, you got to limit the big plays. Like I said, this team can't cover. They keep giving up huge chunks of plays. They keep getting beat over the middle of the field. They keep giving up so many big plays in the middle of the field. They have to get that under control. If they can do that, they can certainly win this game. They've got to limit the big plays. Whether they're giving something over the top, or whether they're just giving up huge chunk plays by not covering the middle of the field. They need to be able to stop that. Whether an adjustment needs to be made, or guys just got to play better, do what you got to do. I've been screaming since week 1. Put Trenton Simpson out there in coverage. Let him be the cover guy. Let Roquan go rush the passer. Roquan should just be the rusher. Because you play Roquan and Simpson next to each other. Let Roquan rush. Let him be the guy. Because he's always the first one there when it comes to rushing the runner and making the tackle. And when it comes to trying to rush the passer and put pressure on the quarterback, he does well with that. Let him be a rusher and let Simpson go out there and be in coverage. That's what needs to be the case. Trenton Simpson needs to be out. Well, he's out there, obviously. He plays the majority of snaps with Roquan. But they just have him more of a rusher and Roquan covering the middle of the field. That can't be the case. Switch roles. Trenton Simpson should be the one out there in coverage. Roquan should be the one rushing. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing that needs to be said. So again, cover the middle of the field. Cover the middle of the field. You keep giving up big plays all the time. Cover the middle of the field. So it comes down to that. And last but not least, let me think. Last key to the game, I'm going to say it for both offense and the defense. Limit the penalties. I think they actually did good last week. I think they had 5 penalties. You know, we're still one of the leading teams in committing penalties. One of the leading teams in total penalties this year. That's just not a good thing. So limit the penalties as much as possible. Do not give more opportunities for Joe Burrow. We don't need y'all committing pass interference. We don't need y'all committing illegal contact. We don't need y'all committing holding calls. Please limit the penalties. Same for the offense. We don't want to see no damn false starts. We don't want to see no damn holding calls. We don't want to see illegal formations. Please. You got to be disciplined in this game. With that being said, if the Ravens do both of these things, they should be able to win. Now, when it comes to the game, how's it going to go down? Well, despite me saying this, I still think it could be somewhat of a shootout. Now, I feel more confident that the Ravens would be able to win this game by 10, and I don't think it's going to be as high of a scoring game this time around as it was when we were in Cincinnati. I think the defense will perform better, not to mention T. Higgins being out does still affect their offense. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than we expected, but I still think it's going to be somewhat of a competitive game. It's just the Ravens will be able to win it down the stretch and just take over. I'm looking at this as a potential 8 to 10 point victory for the Ravens. I'm thinking potentially a 34-24 type victory. Either 34-24, maybe 31-21. I'm thinking that type of thing. I still think the Ravens defense will give up over 20 points, but I think the Ravens offense will be able to put up 30 plus points against them. So I'm thinking a 34-24 type victory here for the Ravens. Lamar is going to do his thing. Derrick Henry is going to do his thing. If Keaton Mitchell gets the play, which he's questionable, so he might be able to play. Harbaugh did not specify if he's going to, but I'm thinking the possibility of him playing is high because he's been a full participant in practice this week as well as last week. So there's a good chance he goes out there and does what he needs to. This is just he goes out there and does what he can to showcase that he is back and now he can contribute to this offense once again, like he was doing last year before the injury. So, yeah, I think it will be a 34-24 type victory for the Ravens. They'll win by 10, however it looks. It'll be a close game, and the Ravens will finally do what they need to do. And what they've been doing in some cases, they'll just be able to dominate the fourth quarter, run the football with Derrick Henry. It will be a relatively close game, but the Ravens will be able to ice it with a touchdown that could potentially make it a 10-point game, and ultimately they'll find a way to win the game 34-24, something like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think Lamar's going to have a great game. I think Zay Flowers going to have a nice game. Bateman's going to get involved. King Henry's going to do what he needs to do. I think it's going to be that type of thing, and we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, that is what I've got here for the Bengals-Ravens Thursday Night Football preview. I'm not trying to be here long because I'll be back in 24 hours when the game is played, so I'm not going to be here for that long. I'll take a look at some of the comments, and then we're going to head on out because we're going to be here tomorrow for 4 hours anyway. I'm not about to spend 2+ hours doing this today. So, yeah, that's my take. Ravens will get the victory. They'll advance to 7-3, and then they'll have 10 days to ready themselves to go to Heinz Fields to have their true test. They got 2 tests every year. Well, not every year, but they got 2 tests this year. The Steelers and the Chiefs. They did not pass the test against the Chiefs. They came close, but they did not pass the test against the Chiefs. Will they be able to pass the test against the Steelers? Because that one is also key. You don't always get to face off against Kansas City, but they face off against the Steelers twice a year. And the Steelers in the last 5 years? Last 4 years. The Steelers in the last 4 years is 7-1 against us. They've owned it, whether Lamar's been there or not. The only win we have with them is the one win Lamar has. They're 3-1 against us when Lamar plays. They're 4-0 against us when Lamar doesn't play. So it comes down to that. They got 10 days to get ready for that game against the Steelers. And when we talk about that one, that's a whole different contest. Because now it's about holding people accountable. They should have beaten this team last year. But guys decided to play their worst game for no reason. Guys wanted to drop passes for no reason. That game still pisses me off to this day. So if they want to redeem themselves this year when they head into Heinz Field, they better get this done the right way. So we're going to see what happens in 10 days. But we'll put that aside and focus on tomorrow night. Get it done. Get it done. The team always plays their best on prime time. Get it done. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let me take a look at some of these comments and then I'll head out. If the Ravens win, they'll have a chance to get the division and be in the playoffs. Then Cincy could fight for the 7th seed. If the Ravens win, they go to 7-3, and then we'll see what happens with the Steelers against the Commanders on Sunday. If the Steelers win, they go to 8-2. The fun part about it is if the Ravens and Steelers play each other next week. So if the Ravens win, they go to 7-3. If the Steelers win, they go to 8-2. Next week, they'll take each other on. The winner of that will remain first place. So if the Ravens win this game against the Bengals and then win next week against the Steelers, they reclaim first place at 8-3. Meanwhile, the Steelers, even if they beat the Commanders, if they lose to the Ravens, they'll be second place in the AFC North at 8-3. Now, if they lose to the Steelers, both teams will be 7-3. I think Baltimore reclaims first place because I believe if the Ravens win, they'll be 2-1 in the division now. So they'll reclaim first place over the Steelers, who have not played a divisional game yet. Which means when they do get to play one, if we beat them the following week, we'll go to 8-3. They go to 7-4. Now we have a bit of a lead, and we've got the tiebreaker because we beat them in that first game. So a lot's riding on these next 2 weeks for the Ravens and the Steelers. Steelers have this opportunity to hold on to the lead. Ravens have an opportunity to reclaim the lead. Depending on how these next 2 weeks go, the Ravens could be back in first place, or or Pittsburgh can have a strong hold on the AFC North. And now the Ravens are at the bottom looking upwards, trying to get themselves back into this. Because if the Ravens lose on Thursday and then lose to the Steelers, now you're 6-5. Now everything changes. Meanwhile, the Steelers could potentially be 8-2. And now you've got a deep battle to deal with. So these next 2 games are crucial for the Ravens and crucial for the Steelers in terms of who's going to potentially try to take a hold of the AFC North. We'll see what happens. As for, Cincy, if Cincinnati loses, they're going to be fighting for the 7th seed. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, no T. Higgins is a blow. It's definitely a blow. Andrews' breakout game, I don't think Andrews needs a breakout game. He's technically he had that with the 2 touchdowns, and he had that with one of the big games he had against the Commanders. So we don't really need an Andrews breakout game. Andrews just needs to continue to do what he's doing. He's going to be there for Lamar, and he's going to have a spot. Andrews doesn't need to put up huge yardage. You just need him to be a reliable weapon, and you know him and Lamar still have the chemistry. So it is what it is. I think Bateman's going to have the most yards this game. We'll see. If Cincinnati decides to put their emphasis on Zay Flowers, that's going to open it up for Rashad Bateman, which gives Bateman a chance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Prediction, Ravens 34-27. I said 34-24, but, it could easily be 34-27. I say Bateman and Zay get over 1,000. It's possible both of them end up. Well, Flowers is going to get 1,000 plus yards. Zay Flowers is going to get 1,000 plus yards guaranteed. But Bateman is going to be too close to call. He might land more towards 800 this year. If we protect the football in the playoffs, I don't see how we lose unless the defense really craps the bed. If we protect the football in the playoffs, I would assume we're going to be putting up 30 plus points because we wouldn't be turning the ball over. We'd be moving the ball down the field, which we have no problem with, and we'd be putting points on the board. If we don't turn the ball over, we're probably scoring 30 plus. So unless the defense gives up like 35 points, we should be able to win that playoff game. But it depends. We'll see. LJ's throwing the ball in the window so tight. That's a crazy statement. I'm not even going to finish that. Huge game for Bateman, 150 yards. We'll see. We'll see. The old man's predicting a lot of turnovers and sacks. We'll see if the defense answers that call. Don't think they're going to get that many turnovers or sacks. This ain't last year's defense. I don't think you'll get a performance similar to what the Ravens did to the Niners on Christmas, because they had like 5 or 6. They had like 5 or 6 sacks and then 5 interceptions. I don't know if we're going to get a game like that from this defense. Joe broke his wrist Thursday night against the Ravens last season. I mean, yeah, I'm sure Joe's going to be ready for this game. But, I mean, I don't think he really cares for that. I don't think that's on his mind. Like, oh, man, last time I played in Baltimore, it was on Thursday Night Football last year, and I broke my wrist. I don't really think he's on the case. I mean, the dude already balled out against them and dropped 5 touchdowns on that defense. And they still lost, but he still balled out. So he's going to do what he did last time and be like, we have matchups that we know we can win against this defense. We know their weaknesses. I'm just going to take advantage of that and let my players go make plays. I feel like Clowney and Calais Campbell would have corrected it. Yeah, for the Pastors, they could have, but it is what it is. You can't change anything. Joe Burrow revenge, I guess. I don't know if it's much of a revenge. Revenge for what happened in week 5, I guess. I guess he goes on the road and beats us. Who knows? The Ravens will be fine if they don't have Butterfingers. Well, they haven't really been turning the ball over much this season. They're one of the least turnover teams this year. Their turnover rate is very low. They don't turn the ball over much offensively. It's more so the fact that their defense is just dropped. The defense leads the league in drop picks. This defense would be seen entirely differently if they would just catch the football. It is what it is. Are we good? But we could get a lot better, and we should focus on improving. Well, the offense is perfectly fine. We got no complaints with that, other than the offensive line, but that's a different conversation for a different game. The defense is where the issue is. They have to continue to improve. I'm pretty sure, just like Jameis, who made me a lot of money, Joe Burrow will be ready. He's going to put up stats no matter who he face off against. I don't think Joe Burrow's going to... He had one bad game at the beginning of the year, and he hasn't played poorly since. So Joe Burrow's going to put up numbers. And our defense stinks, so obviously he's going to put up numbers. You have to be able to prevent the quarterback from passing. You got to pressure him. But you can't blitz him. If you're going up against a quarterback that you know can beat the blitz. Like, you don't blitz Mahomes. You're just asking him to beat you. You've got to generate pressure on Mahomes without blitzing him because you cannot give up the back end. So it's tough. It's tough. Right now, the 4 quarterbacks you cannot blitz: Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, the big 4. You can't blitz them. It's just not going to work. They're too damn good. They'll recognize it and they'll make the play. I'd like to see special teams cause a fumble. Good luck with that. Special teams has been bad all year. The only team that blitzed Lamar and actually works is Pittsburgh. I would say Kansas City has also done a great job at blitzing and actually getting to Lamar consistently. Now, I think in week 1, in the first half, they actually did a good job getting to Lamar. But Lamar made the adjustments, and then they just started blitzing him, and it didn't matter. I'm not going to lie. That's where you actually started to see Lamar is starting to figure out Spag's defense and is feeling more comfortable with that. Because in the first half, well, to be fair, they were blitzing him, but at the same time, the offensive line was doing such a poor job in just basic protection that even when the Chiefs didn't blitz, they were still getting to Lamar. Even when they would send a 3 or 4 man rush, they still were starting to get to Lamar, and Lamar would have to start taking off. So that's kind of an issue that they dealt with early on. The offensive line's been better as the season goes on, but I still think if you've got a front seven that has either if you have let me see how I want to put this. If you have a great front seven with a top-tier elite, bona fide wrecking ball as a pass rusher. If you have that, or you just have an elite front seven, you're going to get to the Lamar Jackson because that offensive line is going to crumble. Perfect example of a really great front seven with an elite top-tier guy, Pittsburgh. Their front seven's really good. It's really solid. But they've got TJ Watt, who's the best defensive player in football. And that's a problem to deal with. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm looking really closely at Lamar in terms of how he's been. Lamar has been the best quarterback against the blitz this year. You can't blitz him. He has answers for that. And a big part of why he has answers for that is, one, is because it's been instilled in the offense. They made sure to work on that in the offseason. But two, most importantly, Lamar's film study has allowed him to really study the blitz a lot. I'm pretty sure he rewatched that AFC Championship game a lot. And he's watched a lot of times he's been blitzed. So Lamar is so much better at dealing with the blitz this year compared to any other year in the previous year. You know, when he was beating the blitz in his MVP season 2019, that was just him beating the blitz with his natural talent. This year, he's beating the blitz by recognizing where the pressure is coming from, making the extra protection and adjustment, or calling an audible. He's literally responding to whatever the defense is coming, and he has answers for every blitz package that he has seen this year. Doesn't mean you still can't get to him, because at the end of the day, if guys don't block, guys don't block. But he's had a response and an answer for everything. Perfect example, he had an answer for the blitz. I think it was early on against, I'm trying to think, I think it was against the Bengals, where they sent a blitz package. I don't remember what it was. Lamar read it perfectly, made the adjustment, and made the adjustment on the protection, read it perfectly, and he was able to make a play, get a completion down the field, and make that play. He did the exact same thing last week against the Broncos. That third down play, where they got to Lamar with a 3-man rush, he made the adjustment for the protection. But the guys just didn't block, and they got to Lamar. So if players don't do their job, there's nothing the quarterback can do. So it comes down to the offensive line doing their job. I think the way you exploit the Ravens' offense is by targeting their O-line. Because if it comes down to trying to stop Lamar, it's going to be difficult. But if you could target their O-line and just beat them straight up, Lamar's never going to have time to do anything. And he's going to have to start running for his life. But Johnson, this punt returner, they played him like that in Pittsburgh. They did use him as a punt returner in Pittsburgh. And I know the Ravens are going to do that at some point because Tyler Wallace is doing nothing for you. Dexter Lawrence, Buckner, Snead, Willie Gay, Arden Key, asking price was too high. Buddy, you just got to let it go. There's nothing you can do about it now. Complaining about it now, we're past it. We talked about it yesterday with the trade deadline. Nothing you can do about it today. Just let it go. You just got to continue to move forward, man. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm not going into a game saying I'm not blitzing. I'm not saying you can't completely blitz, but you don't want to rely on that when you're going up against a quarterback like Burrow. You just don't want to. You don't want to blitz. You don't really want to look to blitz against Lamar. You don't really want to look to blitz against Burrow or Allen or Mahomes. You're obviously going to have moments in the game where you're going to send the blitz. You can never just play a whole game and not blitz once. You're going to have moments in the game where you send a blitz, but you can't start to rely on that to generate pressure consistently. Lamar will be fine. He only goes into panic mode when he sees Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, sure. If that's the statement you want to make, sure. I really don't care, man. All EDC is doing is wetting up my leg and telling me it's raining. That's a weird statement. I would play Stevens at safety some and switch Marlon and Wiggins on Chase. Stevens initially was a safety. They just moved him to a corner. So it wouldn't be bad to get him back to safety because he can always keep up with the defender. It's just a lot of times he just doesn't get his head around. But, we'll see what happens. We got the most penalized ref calling the game tomorrow. So it's going to be a nightmare dealing with that game. Should be fun, I guess. Do you think the two players we just picked up will play? I think there's a possibility Deontay Johnson plays because they picked him up last week and he practiced last week. They picked him up last week, he practiced last week, and then practiced this week. He practiced last week and actually got in the game. He practiced last week and got in the game. So there's a chance he's going to play. He did play last week. I don't know how many snaps he got, but they did. I vividly remember him walking on the field. I remember a moment where he walked on the field, and I don't remember what play it was. And I remember another moment where he was on the field, and he went right back out. So they played him last week against the Bengals. They just didn't utilize him. Not Bengals, against the Broncos. They didn't just utilize him. So there's a good chance he's going to play against the Bengals. But Tre'Davious White, I don't know. I don't know if Tre'Davious White is going to play. I do not know. They got him on, they traded for him on Tuesday, and the game's Thursday. There's a chance he's just not going to play, but who knows? Will Keaton play? I do not know. He is questionable, but it comes down to how they feel about it. He is questionable, but he has been practicing the last 2 weeks, so anything can happen. But again, it comes down to the decision they want to make, if they want to put him out this week or wait till next week. Wiggins on Chase and we dominate. I'd probably just, I don't know. I probably wouldn't mind putting Humphrey on Chase, but I know they want to leave Humphrey in the slot. Wiggins on Chase would be interesting. I don't think it's a bad thing, but Humphrey won his matchups against Jamar Chase when we faced off against him in Cincinnati. Not to mention, he got that pick on Burrow when he was guarding Chase, so I wouldn't mind if it was Humphrey. You probably alternate because I don't think you want to spend the entire game having the rookie guard Chase. At some point, Chase is going to win those type of matchups. So I think you're going to alternate between Wiggins and Humphrey on Chase. That would be good for you. Just don't put Brandon Stevens on him and you'll be fine. Keaton has a higher gear than Hill. He's just a better running back than Hill. Hill is a Swiss Army knife. So he can do multiple things, but it doesn't mean he does multiple things at a high level. So we'll see. Steele is about to be exposed by the Commanders. We'll see. I hope so. Because that defense is ferocious and I don't want them to do anything to Jaden, man. I don't want to see TJ Watt get into Jaden Daniels. So hopefully that offensive line comes to play. Steelers versus Commanders could be fun to watch if Ravens take care of Bengals. We'll see. Who would be on your first team, Zay Flowers or Tyreek Hill? If we're talking about based off of performance this year, Zay Flowers has performed better than Tyreek Hill. But if we're talking about just like all time, Tyreek Hill is one of the greatest receivers to play this game. It's just crazy to not have him on your first team. The Baltimore Ravens are having more fun competitively right now than the Miami Heat. I'm not worried about Miami. It is November 6th. I'm not worried about the Heat. I'm not. We already know they're going to be within the bottom five. They're going to be within the bottom four. They'll be a 7th or 8th seed. They might be a playing team again. And, if they stay healthy, they'll try to make some noise in the playoffs. But we know what the Heat are about. Like, nobody's surprised that they're 3-3 right now. Why some Ravens fans praise this clown EDC? I'm not even going to get into that, bro. We had a whole 2-hour discussion about this yesterday. I'm not getting into that today. Anyway, I've been here for well over an hour. I've been here for just a little over an hour. I'm going to head on out. I got to see you guys tomorrow for Thursday Night Football anyway, so I'm not going to spend 2+ hours being here. I do have complaints of Ravens offense. Play call and game plan can go out of whack, scratching your head. Sometimes protecting Henry too much, not using him enough. I think with the play calling, it really just comes down to moments where they try to get too cute. Like them calling Wildcat on 4th and 1. They just got cute instead of just lining up under center and handing the ball to Henry. Again, on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations, there's really 2 things you should do. Hand the ball to Derrick Henry or fake the handoff and do an end around with Lamar. That will work damn near every single time. You don't need to try to get too cute where you decide to run the Wildcat with Derrick Henry. That's stupid. 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, hand the ball to Derrick Henry when you want to toss it to him or just directly hand it to him via under center. Or you fake the handoff and Lamar doesn't end around to go pick up the first down. Either or is going to work. So that's the only 2 plays I think you should run. And defenses aren't going to know what a ball is. So pick your poison. That's the 2 things I really look at and say, do those and you'll be fine. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. I picked the Ravens to win 34-24. We'll see how that ages out. Hopefully the Ravens can get the win and advance to 7-3. If not, we'll have a huge discussion and conversation about that after the game and it won't be fun. But yeah, hopefully the Ravens do get the win. We'll see how things go. But I'm going to head on out. I'll see you tomorrow for Thursday Night Football, of course. So we'll be here for the next 4 hours tomorrow, watching the game and talking about how things go. But as for tonight, I'm going to chill out. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night, and then I'm going to go to sleep because I got work in the morning. Again, that's just how it is. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.